Hello! This is my first video blog. I think they call that a vlog in the cyber world and the cultural world. So this is my attempt to be a movie critic, and I've always enjoyed movies, and one of the best jobs I ever had in the journalistic field was to be a movie critic. I got paid to go to movies and give my opinion about them. That's a pretty good gig if you can get it, just so you know. Didn't pay a lot, but that wasn't the point. I'm a big movie buff, and occasionally you'll see on Facebook and whatnot that I post my critiques of movies, and a lot of people either like them or at least comment on them or just curious about them, and that's fine. I thought this would be a better way to do it. Take 5 minutes of your day. You can just hear me ramble on about something, and whether or not you agree with me, that's not the point. The point is, if you like the movies I like, then you will come back and you will realize, hey, we kind of gel together. If you don't like the movies that I do like, then you know, hey, I should stay away from that movie. That's all it is. That's all movie critiquing is about, is to be consistent. And I'm very consistent with what I believe to be good movies and bad movies. Let me talk. I saw 3 movies this week, and I basically saw a great one, a good one, and a bad one. Let's start with the one in the middle. Let's start with my week with Marilyn. It was a fantastic movie, and I think the reason that is because it was very well acted. Michelle Williams played Marilyn Monroe in the 1950s, obviously. And this is back when Marilyn Monroe was red hot. I mean, she was the it girl. She was the it actor. It didn't matter, male or female. She was the one you wanted in your movie. And she went over to England to be in a movie with Sir Laurence Olivier. Excuse me. Pardon me. Don't strike me down with lightning. Anyway, Sir Laurence Olivier, which in the movie was played by Kenneth Branagh. And the interesting thing about those two being on the same movie set is their relationship was toxic. I'm not talking about Michelle Williams and Kenneth Branagh. I'm talking about Marilyn Monroe and Sir Laurence Olivier. They have 2 very different approaches to acting style. Marilyn Monroe claimed to be a method actor. If you want my opinion, she just didn't get it a lot of times. But when she did get it, she was spectacular. The camera loved her, fans loved her, and by the end of the movie, Sir Laurence Olivier was falling in love with her, because that's what you do. You fall in love with Marilyn Monroe. She was fantastic. She would seduce you. She would seduce the camera. She would seduce an audience, and you would be tangled in her web, and you'd make $1 million in the movie. So, yeah. And so it did a really good job of portraying that. Now, the movie comes about because there was a stagehand that she seduced while she was there, and he wrote a diary. Wait, no. Men don't do diaries. They do journals, whatever. The point is, he wrote all this down, and then he put it into a book, and now they made it into a movie. And it's very much worth your time. It's a short movie, about a minute or a minute and a half, an hour and a half, and yeah, it's solid. It's very solid. Michelle Williams should probably get an Oscar nod for her performance, if you want my opinion. I'm not sure if she should win it, but she should definitely get a nomination. She was fantastic as Marilyn Monroe. She seduced me, and I was just sitting in the audience and just paid a ticket. So it's worth the price of admission. The movie I did not like at all was Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Very disappointed in this movie. I wanted to like this movie. I liked the subject matter. I didn't know a lot about it other than I knew it was based on a book, a rather lengthy book. And sometimes lengthy books are very hard to translate into movies. In this case, I thought the script was fine. I didn't have a problem with them bouncing back and forth, through timelines, keeping you on your toes as an audience. The problem is I wasn't ever on my toes. It was just boring. It was a slow, methodical build, which I'm not against slow, methodical builds. When you do slow, methodical builds, the purpose of that is to usually pay off big when you get the climax or the turn, if you will. When that happens, then the slow, methodical build makes sense. You go back and say, oh, okay, well, that's what this was about. That's what everything was supposed to be about. Okay, well, that's fine. In this case, it didn't pay off at all. It was just slow and boring. There were some funny parts, and, I laughed when they were funny, but that was very few and far between. The story was just okay, interesting. It wasn't anything that we haven't seen before in cinema. The acting was great. I mean, it has Gary Oldman, it has Colin Firth, it has Mark Strong. It has some really good actors in this, and they did a great job. It's not them. I don't fault them at all. I think they should get paid what they're worth. I think it squarely falls on the screenplay a little bit and the director a big time for not making an interesting movie. And I mean, I had no idea when they were in a scene what country they were in, what time period they were in, if it was 3 months before anything happened, if it was in the present time. You had no idea because it didn't flow well. And anytime that happens, it's just a bad movie. And I mean, there was people that got up and left in the middle of it, and I don't blame them. The movie that I really enjoyed that I saw this week was The Descendants with George Clooney. I was very surprised by this movie. I mean, I knew it was probably going to be pretty good because I like George Clooney. George Clooney is a very good actor. He's often overlooked by a lot of people because he came from those, quote unquote hunky days and everything. Oh, he's just this hunk. No, he actually is a very good actor. You need to start paying attention. The average age of the people in the theater was probably 62. If you take me out of the equation, and if you put me in there, I drag it down quite a bit. But and I didn't mind that. I didn't mind that because the audience was very much in tune with what was going on. I was very in tune with what was going on, so it's not a generational thing. The reason why this movie works is because George Clooney is fantastic in this film. Everything, the whole story flows through him. Anytime you have a movie where the entire story flows through one character, that's a lot of pressure on the actor to get it right. He nailed it. He absolutely nailed this. It's a drama. It's a tearjerker. If you don't like dramas and tearjerkers, don't go see this movie. It's that simple. What this is about, and I'm not giving anything away because it's set up right in the beginning of the film, is George Clooney's wife is about to die. He grew up and was raised in Hawaii, and the whole thing starts out with this question of what is paradise, because he's lived in paradise and his life still sucks. So if your life still sucks, why does it suck? Well, his wife is dying from a head trauma that she suffered, and he starts realizing that he was not a very good husband. He also realizes that he has not been a very good father to his two daughters, who don't respect him and who really don't respect anybody else for that matter. And he has to deal with all this. And there's a point in the beginning of the movie where he figures out that his wife is cheating on him. And he does what normal people would do. He gets angry and literally runs. And keep in mind, it's in Hawaii, so he's running in sandals. It's pretty brutal. You don't know whether this is going to be comedic. You don't know whether this is going to be dramatic at this point. And he runs over to a friend's house and finds out that they knew the entire time that she was cheating and just didn't tell him. And the anger turns to tears, and at that point, his best acting that he's ever done takes over, bar none. I mean, and let me explain something to you when I say this. The hardest thing to do as an actor is to have restraint, is to say that there's something going on that's eating at you, and to get that across, but that you're not blowing your stack, you're not angry, you're not doing anything, but you are letting the audience know that you are taking this all in. He did that to a T. His daughters don't like him, his wife is cheating on him, his wife is dying, he's got all this stuff thrown at him, and yet every vein in he wants to pop, he wants to explode, and you wouldn't blame him if he did, but he doesn't. And telling you folks, that is a hard thing to translate onto film. He did a great job at doing it. I cared about him. I cared about his situation. I wanted him to come out of this in glorious fashion. You cheer for him. You cheer for his family. That is a fantastic acting job. I enjoyed watching it thoroughly. George Clooney should get a nomination for Best Actor this year. I don't know if he should win it. He's on the tops of my list right now, but I haven't seen everything yet, so we'll just hold back on that for my Oscar segment. But those are the three movies I saw. Fantastic movie is The Descendants. A very good movie is My Week with Marilyn. And the Please Don't Waste Your Time, because I'm really long, boring, and everybody who's an intellectual say they like it and find some reason why they liked it, and it was really boring kind of movie. And Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, please avoid it. And that'll conclude this one, and I'll see you next week. Peace.